There are no moral victories, but one thing that we know for sure is that this group in here's got heart, this group in here's got character, and this group will keep fighting. And as long as we have that, as long as we don't lose that fight, you can beat anybody, no matter what the circumstances.
Hello again, Irish fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Football with Brian Kelly. I'm Jack Nolan. To transpose and slightly alter a famous line from a Charles Dickens novel, the Michigan State game was the worst of times and almost the best of times for Notre Dame. After taking a 7-0 lead over Michigan State, the Irish surrendered 36 straight points before suddenly awakening on both sides of the ball to put together a furious 21-point comeback that fell 8 points short as time ran out. Everyone on the team owned the loss, from Brian Kelly, who publicly proclaimed he and his staff need to put the players in better position to make plays, to quarterback Shawn Kaiser, who, despite engineering yet another comeback, took responsibility for the struggles the offense went through before the comeback began.
As a commander's offense, I failed to execute my job. In the third quarter, when we hit that little low, that's 100% on me. From communication errors to balls in the dirt to not making the plays with my feet like I'm supposed to. I take this loss 100% on my back. Like I said, we didn't score as many points as we should have to win the game, and as a commander of the offense, that's 100% on me.
Another loss is unacceptable, just like the past two have been. So just continuing to show pride in the university and our own names.
I think that we have a lot of high character guys on the offensive side of the ball. Well, this entire team really, and they go out there and play and have a will to win.
Inside Notre Dame Football is presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Coca-Cola, Under Armour, and Gatorade. Inside Notre Dame Football is also brought to you by Bank of America, Canon, Xfinity, Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Nissan, Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, Sirius XM Satellite Radio, and UPS.
The Irish have come alive. Here is a keep by Kaiser, and he drives and goes in.
I know he's not a captain, but he's an offensive leader. And after the game, a guy who led this comeback again said, "This is on me. I didn't do everything that I was supposed to do," talking about the Shawn Kaiser here.
Well, the quarterback's going to get, probably too much of the credit when we win and probably too much of the blame. He's done a lot of good things for us. I'm glad he's our quarterback. He's a humble kid. He's a great kid to coach. I'm sure he would like a throwback here or, a read here or there. But he's out there competing for us, and I'm glad he's our quarterback.
In this most recent game against State, you had a couple of huge mistakes that cost you a touchdown and set up an opposition touchdown.
Yeah, and two freshmen, Obviously, the block in the back on the kickoff return for a touchdown was a huge momentum swing to start the game. And then, not being clear enough in our communication on a poor punt, puts Miles Boykin in a vulnerable position where the ball glances off his foot and really sets up Michigan State in a big situation, and they're able to capitalize on it.
Your post-game message was very consistent, both to your team and staff and to the media, that you're going to keep going forward, and the responsibility lies with you and your staff. You are not going to blame the players for what's happened the last few weeks. You guys have to do a better job.
Well, look, at the end of the day, everybody's got to contribute to winning, right? Coaches have got to coach better. Players have got to make plays when they're in a position. My point really, more than anything else, was that we are not trading any of our players. We're not cutting any of our players. They've got to line up for us again. It's a relatively inexperienced group across the board. We've got to be patient in some instances, and we have to demand. And most of that demanding is coming from the coaches. We've got to demand more from our coaches and put our players in a position to be successful.
You are young. And in this Twitter world, people don't like to hear that. They say, oh, that's an excuse. But 10 guys in the NFL, and you start with quality teams early. They don't have a whole lot of a time to adjust to the speed of the game.
Yeah, and when I say young, we're inexperienced in playing consistent football. We look pretty good at times. I mean, we've played two really good football teams in Texas and Michigan State. And you could argue a play here or a play there, we win both of those football games with an inexperienced football team. So what we're looking for really is consistency.
Spartans feel a little more on their heels here. Again, rushing for Kaiser pumped it, fires in the middle, touchdown! Smythe! And the Irish are right back in this one.
I mean, this game, to flip a great literary verse, was the worst of times and the best of times. There was one point where I think your team looked like it was knocked out worse than at any time I've seen during a regular season game, and then suddenly you come all the way back and you almost tied. You get within 8 points.
If they just compete and compete for 4 quarters, we'll have a chance to win every game we play. And we see that again put itself in play with a great second half comeback to the point where we have a chance with the football to tie it up.
And interestingly, the comeback starts after the most deflating play of the game, a 73-yard touchdown run. You're losing the crowd at that point, and boom, you race right back into it.
We get a big play, and we needed something to obviously energize our offense, and we get a big play by Torrey Hunter down the sideline, makes a big catch, and we're able to put some points on the board quickly, and then we get a couple of stops defensively, and our offense now is at a position where we're going to throw the football, virtually every down, and Shawn Kaiser is able to move the football around. We get good protection, and that's the sign that I'm pointing to, is that if we play with that kind of consistency, we're a pretty good football team.
St. Brown has been consistent. He makes that nice touchdown pass. And then Chase Claypool steps up and makes a spectacular catch to help you score another touchdown.
Really great catch. The coverage was pretty good. We knew that we would get a one-on-one matchup on the backside with the corner with good leverage. He goes up, makes a big catch, gives us a big momentum lift, and again, able to put another score on the board. And now, going into late into the fourth quarter, we just need another stop, and we get another great stop from our defense. And now we've got a similar situation that we had in Texas, where now let's go capitalize offensively, and we weren't able to make that big play offensively.
To come back on a team like that shows there's a foundation there. So tell me, after looking at the video of this game, what positives did you take from it? What building blocks do you see there?
Well, there's obviously snippets of really good football. Whether it's special teams or offense and defense, it's just inconsistent football at this point. And it's at a high level. When it's good, it's really good. It can beat and play with anybody in the country. And then there is a resolve in this football team that they will fight regardless of the circumstances.
This was the scene Saturday night on the floor of Notre Dame Stadium as one of the greatest teams in Notre Dame football history was saluted by another sellout crowd. This year marks the 50th anniversary of Notre Dame's 1966 national championship season. The signature game of that storied season was the epic 10-10 tie at Michigan State, one of the most intense and physical football games ever played. In our next 2 segments this week, we take an in-depth look back at that epic game.
Notre Dame, who had built its empire with the railroad, took one of its last train rides to East Lansing, direct into enemy territory and immediate challenges. Star running back Nick Eddy damaged his injured shoulder on the trip and would not play against the Spartans.
I stood on the sidelines and watched the game along with the rest of the country.
Notre Dame, Michigan State, the most anticipated, publicized, and discussed collegiate football game of the decade has finally arrived.
The Notre Dame-Michigan State game, as it was played on November 19, 1966, may accurately be summarized in just 5 simple sentences. The hitting was ferocious. There was no winner. Nobody played for a tie. Those involved in the game left the stadium unsatisfied. And players and coaches are still remembered for, if not haunted by, the experience.
There is the smokestack, and a Notre Dame man hung in effigy, given a 30-degree afternoon.
When we started that game, I'll tell you, I'd never been in a game more intense. Every play was just boom, boom, boom.
Fate plays a trick on Hanratty and Notre Dame. As the Irish passer turns the corner, big number 95, Bubba Smith, slams him down, causing a shoulder separation and forcing Coach Parsegian to go with Coley O'Brien at quarterback.
Coley O'Brien was a diabetic. He was diagnosed a week or two before that.
In the first quarter, the starting quarterback at Notre Dame is out of the game. 2 plays later, Notre Dame had to punt. The starting center, George Gedeke, is out of the game.
He didn't have time to get the punt off, and he throws a pass to me, unbeknownst to me. So when that ball's getting there, you know, they're just laying timber on me, and that put me out of the game, that play. And we were all Americans. So we now had 3 guys out that were, a prominent part of that offense.
After halting the Irish attack, Jimmy Ray and the Spartans take charge. Ray hits State's old-time top pass receiver. Now a slow-motion camera rolls as a sophomore fullback is asked to get the final yards. Regis Cavender falls into the end zone for the game's first touchdown. Football's third-best defensive unit halts the drive, forcing a field goal attempt. Dick Kenny's 47-yard boot is good.
A 10-0 lead in a game like that with that intensity was pretty significant.
If you were ever going to go get close to a breaking point, that would probably have been it.
For Michigan State, that field goal is the high water mark in the game. They would not score again in the game, and in fact, they would not get closer than the Notre Dame 46-yard line for the rest of the game.
Down one situation, the 19-year-old quarterback rifles a touchdown pass to Gladio, and Notre Dame finally lights up the scoreboard. The top-scoring team in the country gets close.
And we were so far from the breaking point, it's not even worth talking about.
27-yard kick, here it is. It's good. And after 45 minutes, Chris, we're right back where we started.
The thing about this game is that both coaches made very logical and sound coaching calls, I think, throughout the entire game.
Put to go the national championship riding. Do you kick it to play for a tie, or do you go for victory?
Duffy Daugherty knew he needed to be in a better position to score a field goal with the wind to possibly win the game. So he exchanges possession for position. On that punt, the punt is fumbled on the catch by Tom Shane, who falls on the ball. So he almost won the gamble.
I firmly believe that Duffy Daugherty went for the tie. There was 1 minute and 30-some seconds left. And he knew darn well he wasn't getting the football back. So by kicking the ball to Era in Notre Dame, he put the onus on Era.
Notre Dame has 3 plays to move the ball 9 yards.
Score tie. Here's Coley O'Brien.
So he was going into insulin shock on the sidelines. They were feeding him candy bars and oranges. I think that had a factor, and Aaron never used that as an excuse, but I think that was a factor in why we're not throwing the football.
The most courageous decision in the game is Era's decision to go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 39 with under a minute left.
Trying for the first down, and they get it. When you see there are 10 seconds left in this battle, Seymour to the near side. And Coley O'Brien retains possession, and it looks like that's all.
When that game ended, there was silence. It was kind of weird.
It was like, went through all that whole heavyweight fight, and there's no conclusion.
Michigan State 10, Notre Dame 10.
On the way to the locker room, some of the Michigan State players started to kibitz the Notre Dame players, talking about you guys being chicken. They were expecting Era to do something dumb. Era doesn't do dumb things.
No, he does not. The 10-10 tie at Michigan State set the stage for the Irish to clinch the 1966 National Championship the following week at USC, a goal that was accomplished without any doubt as the Irish rolled over their arch rivals by the score of 51-0. One of the highlights of the team's reunion this past weekend was the chance for the team to visit with Coach Ara Parseghian once again and hear him reflect back on that magical championship season. Inside Notre Dame Football continues right after this short timeout.
First car you ever drove?
Rosie, STS Cadillac.
Favorite class?
Corporate finance.
One thing the public would be surprised to learn about you.
Hate watching SportsCenter.
Riding a flyboard.
Absolutely fun.
Get up early or sleep in?
Get up early.
Best nickname on the team and who has it?
Chop, Tyler Luatua.
Best player to room with on the road?
Brandon Wimbush, neat freak.
One thing you always hear from Coach Kelly at practice?
Plead the fifth.
Player who will surprise fans the most this season?
Chase Claypool.
Best singer on the team?
Mike McGlinchey.
Best dancer on the team?
Torrey Hunter.
Best comedian on the team?
Jay Hayes.
Best dresser on the team?
Torrey Hunter.
Worst dresser on the team?
Me.
Player on the team most likely to become a football coach?
Montgomery Van Gorder.
Best thing about playing for Notre Dame?
Winning tradition.
Shawn Kaiser, you've completed the 60-second drill on Inside Notre Dame Football.
Thank you very much.
Next up for the Irish, a visit from a Duke football program that is in the midst of one of the most successful eras in school history. Head coach David Cutcliffe has guided the Blue Devils to a school record 4 straight bowl games.
David Cutcliffe is an outstanding offensive mind, and they do great things offensively. They've been very stingy as well defensively this year. They haven't scored the kind of points. Losing their quarterback obviously has hurt them, trying to find their identity offensively. But great coach, great mind. They're going to be very disciplined as a football team. We know that. But again, I think the challenge for us is within, and we're going to have to figure out the things that we need to do better this week in practice.
It's time now for the experts at TireRack.com question of the week for Coach Kelly. This week's question comes from James Owens of Santa Maria de la Vide, New Mexico. Coach, what is your profile of the ideal Irish recruit?
Well, I think he recognizes the value of a Notre Dame degree and what it'll do for him for the rest of his life. And then somebody that wants to be challenged both in the classroom and on the football field, and is coming here to win a national championship.
That will do it for this week's edition of Inside Notre Dame Football. We, of course, will be back next week with a breakdown of the Duke game and more behind-the-scenes insights into the Notre Dame football program. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Irish!
Inside Notre Dame Football is presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Coca-Cola, Under Armour, and Gatorade. Inside Notre Dame Football is also brought to you by Bank of America, Canon, Xfinity, Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Nissan, Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, Sirius XM Satellite Radio, and UPS.